When one chooses to walk the way of the Mandalore, you are both hunter and prey. Our secrecy is our survival. Our survival is our strength. This is the way. In terms of materials, I've got a brass keyring, a few various lengths of 550 paracord. I ended up using gray microcord instead of white, and just a bit of 275 paracord. I'm going to start off with my rust piece of paracord. I'm going to find the midpoint, double it over, and put it through the keyring. Now we're going to do the slingstone hitch. So I'm going to take the right side cord and feed it through the top of that loop, out the bottom. I'm going to take the left side cord, feed it through the top of the loop, and out the bottom, and then cinch it up. You could do a regular cow's hitch, but I find the slingstone hitch stays in place better. Next, I've got my silver piece of paracord. I'm going to find the midpoint, put it behind the two rust strands. I'm going to tie a cobra knot. I'm going to take the right side, put it over the two middle rust strands. Left side goes on top of that and out the crook on the right. Then we're going to cinch up this first cobra knot. You're going to leave a little space in between the first cobra knot and the slingstone hitch part of the rust paracord. Now from there, I'm going to continue tying cobra knots. Just make sure you lead with the same strand for your cobra knots. And I'm going to end up tying 5 cobra knots going down my 2 rust strands. Now when we get to the end, we're going to finish it off. I'm going to do the clean finish. You probably don't have to do this, but I just kind of enjoy finishing the cobra knots this way. I'm going to loosen the last knot and take the strand on the right from the back side of the cobra knots and put it through that last cobra knot and pull it shut. So now we have both working ends coming out the back. Then we're going to clip off that excess paracord with our scissors, melt it with the lighter, and we're going to press down on it as usual with the knotter's tool. Now I have my charcoal gray and silver pieces of paracord that I've been joined together, and we're going to put that above the silver section of the cobra knots. And now we're going to start tying cobra knots again, and I'm going to lead with the silver strand. And as you can see, the first cobra knot will go right above that first section of silver cobra knots. Okay, you can cinch that first cobra knot up right above the cobra knots we just tied. Now continue tying those cobra knots, and the second knot is going to start covering the silver section of cobra knots. This is going to start forming that angle of the helmet and give it that nice Mandalorian helmet shape. And you're going to continue tying cobra knots all the way down, covering the entire silver section of the cobra knots, which is about 6 cobra knots. And once again, when I get down to the bottom, I'm going to do the clean finish. And on the back side, I'm going to loosen the last cobra knot and feed the charcoal gray through this time and cinch it up. You can go ahead and snip and singe the silver and charcoal gray cords. I left the charcoal gray on for now because I wasn't sure if I still needed it, but ended up not needing it, so you can clip off and melt both excess cords. Next, I've got a piece of black 275 paracord, and I'm just melting the end here to kind of mushroom it out so it doesn't slip through the knots. And I've got it on my second largest fid. And about 2 knots in on the right side, I'm going to feed it through the back and bring it across to the opposite side, making that straight line going across, forming the visor of the Mandalorian helmet. I'm going to take my fid off, and this is what your 275 piece of paracord should look like, just right across there at the top. And for the next section, I'll need a piece of black paracord with the core removed. So just snip off both ends of your piece of scrap paracord and pull out the inner guts. And of course, just singe and melt those ends shut. Now with that gutted piece of 550 on a fid, I'm going to pull apart the rust strands from the bottom here, and you'll notice I've got a single knot sticking out there. This is where I'm going to go in first and anchor that black strand. Pull it just about through, leaving a bit on the other end. And next, I'm going to use my knotter's tool and just create a bit of a path here. And just be careful not to pierce through the paracord. But I'm going to go right through the middle of the 2 rust strands and in between all of those cobra knots. And I'm going in above the piece of 275 paracord. Okay, and then pull that all the way through, and that creates the vertical piece of the helmet. So I've got those pieces in place now. And if you look on the back, we have all those excess cords sticking out. So you can go ahead and snip and melt all the excess cords, the excess 275, as well as the coreless 550. And from here, I'm going to tie the double snake knot or double wall knot. So with the right side strand, I'm going to do a clockwise loop around the left side strand. And then the left side strand goes behind the right side strand, bring it around in front and through that loop you just created. And then we're just going to simply double it up. So with the left side strand, bring it one more time around, looping through the opposite loop one more time. And then from there, you can kind of just turn everything around. And then with the strand on the left again, the one that hasn't been doubled up yet, just double that one up. You can tie whichever lanyard knot you wish. I just figured I'd mix it up with the double wall knot or double snake knot. Now I'm going to cinch it up so it's right below my Mandalorian helmet. And now from here, I've got my gray microcord. I believe this is charcoal microcord. I'm going to add the detail by tying some cobra knots. But this time I'm going to tie them on the right side only. So I'm always going to continually bring the right side of the microcord strand over the core. And this is going to create that DNA style cobra knot where it twists. And it's up to you how you want to do this. You can just tie regular cobra knots, but I figured it would be a nice detail to have those twisted cobra knots on the very end here. So as you can see, I'm just continually tying the right side over the core, and the left side goes behind and through the crook on the right. I'm just going to tie a bunch of cobra knots this way. So I've tied a small section of the cobra knots with the microcord, and if it's not twisted enough, you can always just give it an extra little twist by rotating the cobra knots in between your fingers there around the core. And once you have your section of cobra knots that you're happy with, I'm just going to snip off my excess microcord. And then of course, as always, melt it with the lighter, press down on it with an honors tool. And last but not least, I'm going to clean up that excess rust cord on the bottom there. And I'm going to leave two tails there because I just like the look of it. Alright, so this has been the Mandalorian helmet Paracord Keychain. Love the way this one turned out, and I think it's a great tribute to a great show. Hope you all enjoyed this one. As always, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you want access to our Discord as well as exclusive videos and other Patreon perks, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video as well as down below. If you enjoyed what I did in this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.